Hello again, Astrea here. Um, so I have some thoughts coming to me about entities, more thoughts about entities. Um, so I want to address what they feel like around you and other people, how you can kind of sense them just in passing, quick passing, and also what they look like in someone's aura. And as an energy worker and as a healer, um, there are many modalities that we use to move and shift energy around and to enable and facilitate other people's healings. So if you can see auras or if you can sense energy in other people, when there's an entity present, it will seem like there is like a darkness or a grayness in and around the crown chakra. Also can be around the neck, the base of the skull. They tend to resonate to high sites of implants, which are reptilian Anunnaki technology that a lot of people have within their central nervous system to interrupt the signals and the reception and transmission of source connection and resonance. That might be a little close there. So the darkness or the grayness literally will be around the head. You can see it in somebody's facial expressions. Quite often I notice it in people while they are doing things that they don't feel like anybody else is watching, crossing the street, driving. It can bring about, when you consider where these negative entity influences are coming from, when you consider that it is coming from darker races, there can be a very sort of lizard-like reptilian, movement or look to somebody. Very reflexive, instinctual, very reptilian, like the way a bird moves or the way a lizard moves, especially in the eye movement and in the neck movement. This instinctive turning, it's like an impulsive thing, really. People are not conscious of it controlling their choices. They're not conscious of it controlling their impulses. But these are pieces, negative influence, that are attempting to keep the person from staying in a state of harmony with self, from staying in a state of unity with self. They don't really care how they do it. They don't really care what it is that you're doing to hurt yourself or what you're doing to hurt others. It can be behaviors that create drama in your life, create crisis, create emergency. Remember that these entities can be influences on you, but they can be integrated within you. And I've talked about that already today. A lot, actually. So the way that you can sense them being around you, and I did talk about this a little bit earlier, is just sudden off behaviors. Remember that we're all going for wholeness. We're all going for organic way of being to ourselves, to our godness, to our divinity within ourselves. So what you will sense if you're around somebody that has entity control, and I'm talking multiple entities. Most people won't have just one entity that latches onto them. Quite often the entities will just come in and take turns in a person and control their choices. So it could seem like the person's really kind of wishy-washy, or doesn't really have a firm sense of what they want to do, or they say one thing and forget what they were talking about, or forget what commitment they made to themselves, or rationalize or justify. Um, so, say for example, you are, I don't know what's a good example. You're working with somebody. Say you're working with somebody. You're working with them at your job, and you're about to do something that has a really great integrity to it, that's very honest, that is really against the grain, something you wouldn't really see happen in your place of work very often. And all of a sudden, out of the blue, there comes an email or a phone call or somebody contacting you, trying to communicate with you, to elicit an emotional reaction out of you, to throw you off. Okay, so what are the chances that you're going to stay in a state of integrity and in a state of oneness with yourself when you have an emotional reaction to something that doesn't please you, which quite often is just a judgment of whatever person? So again, if you're judging yourself, you're much more susceptible to entity influence. So that's what happens, and I mean, that person isn't conscious of that influence, and the influence will come and go. Once the job is done, it's done. The entity can move on and slip into somebody else's field. What gets really interesting about it is that, again, as an energy worker, many people that I've worked with or that have these types of awareness, there are layers to you. It's not just your aura. There's many different parts to you. Keep it in as simple terms as possible, but there are layers, almost like spheres around you, that act as your fields. You can have an entity come in and embed itself in a field very close to you, such that it actually changes your personality. It actually feels like you. You can have many different ways, but if you see auras, quite often it just looks like gray. It looks like a gray color. There are infinite colors within the spectrum that is currently viewable by your senses, depends on your senses, within the aura. And an entity presence will never have a color. It will always be a very dark, muddy color. It will be gray or black if very highly entertained by the person. And like I said, it can be multiple influences. So just wanted to address that while we're on the subject of entities today. And if anything else comes up, I'll be sure to let you know. And I'm just going to give the topic time to settle and see what else comes up.